Hi guys, this is a bit of an overdue video, but what is inspiring me to do it right now is that season 2 of The Chosen is about to start. Now, a few months ago, I gave a review and kind of an overview of this streaming biblical TV series. And I was so negative about faith-based films in general, because I don't like them. I was so negative and so cranky that I actually switched it from public to link only. Some of you did see it. I said, you know what? There's too much grumbling in the world. It's not that important. I actually really like this series. I like it a lot. But faith-based films in general, I don't like. I'll give you a very brief recap, hopefully not as mean this time. My problem with faith-based films is many of them I don't think are simply well or professionally done, and other ones are trying to preach a sermon rather than tell a story. The storytelling is just not very good. The characters are cardboard. I don't like it. That isn't something exclusive to faith-based films. Some of you know I'm a pretty big science fiction fantasy fan, and I would say that a couple of episodes of last season's Doctor Who suffered from that. They were trying to preach a message, an environmental one that overall I agree with, but it was a sermon, like the vehicle was used as sort of a slap-together story to preach a sermon. The story has to come first. The characters have to come first. I have to like the story to be drawn into it. And if people are just using a story as just a veneer to preach a message, then it's like, unless it's a fable or a parable, you expect it. But if I sit down to watch a show, I want it to be good. I want it to be well done. And I am the sort of person that wants all my I's dotted and T's crossed. And in general, I find most biblical stories don't do a very good job with this. There's a few exceptions, or faith-based stories. Then came The Chosen. And when I was stranded in New Zealand when COVID broke out last year, for some reason it came up recommended in my Facebook feed. So I said, well, you know what? It's like Easter week, or the week before Easter, it's Holy Week. I'll watch one of these. And I clicked on episode 1. And I was really drawn into it. Now, it wasn't perfect. I found out later that episode 1, this series was completely crowdfunded, which is another reason I should have expected it to be bad, but somehow it wasn't. There was no studio backing. It was a crowd-funded episode. And it was done a year before the rest of the series. And I think that shows. I think the later episodes, by the time you hit episode 3, it's really hit his stride. But it was still a heck of a lot better than I expected. It does have a lot of anachronisms in it, so expect that. I don't think you're going for detailed, anthropologically and historically correct mannerisms or dialogue. That didn't particularly bother me because I viewed it as kind of a translation. There were things that they had in there, such as these guys hanging in a tavern, that I don't think would have been very common among the Jewish community in first century Palestine. I don't think that would have been a thing. There were a couple of other things like that. There were relatively minor things. There were things like people running up and shaking each other's hand the way people would today. There was a certain friendly and innocent interchange between the sexes that I think there would have been more of a differentiation. There would have been less friendly banter. But it's almost like they took the old story and the setting and mixed it with some modern sensibilities so that it would be a good story for us. And it works. I could pick at many little things. But I have to say, I was really impressed with this series. So in this video, I'm going to talk about episode 1 and 2. And what's inspiring me to do this now is you can either watch through the Chosen app, you can watch through VidAngel, or you can watch the live streams on YouTube, which they are doing this week. As I'm recording this is Wednesday. And tonight, I'll put a link below. Tonight, they're going to be streaming episodes 3 and 4. So you can just go to YouTube and watch. Episodes 1 and 2, I think, should still be up there. It's not a live stream anymore. Now, in the live streams, the director makes some commentary before and after, and you can watch that or not. You can skip that and just go right to the episode and watch. But since they were redoing all this week. They did episode 1 and 2 last night, 3 and 4 today, 5 and 6 Thursday, and they're going up till Easter Sunday will be the premiere of season 2. That's what motivated me to come on and tell you about the series. Now, episode 1 introduces some main characters. Jesus is not the main character of the story. The main characters are some of the disciples that followed him. And episode 1 is setting up a lot of the difficulties these people have in their lives. Again, it's not as smooth as the later episodes, but it's important. The characters being introduced are a woman named Lilith. I'm not going to say too much more there. You'll have to watch it. There is Matthew the tax collector, who is brilliant. My daughter Mary, who really liked the show, I said, "What did you like about it?" She said, "Matthew." I said, "What else can you say about it?" She said, "Matthew." And then she looked at me and said, "Matthew," one more time, and walked out of the room. She loved Matthew, so do I. I can relate to him more than any of the other characters. He is fantastic. The Roman guard that sort of has some interchanges with him, he is also fantastic. He grows on you. The Romans are just kind of almost cardboard villains in the first episode, but it gets better. They're still villains. You have Peter, Simon Peter. He's called Simon at this point in time. Peter was a nickname Jesus gave him. So you have Simon, and he's got all these schemes going to get himself out of trouble. His relationship with his wife is wonderful. She is a great character. They have a very playful and somewhat tempestuous relationship. And because Simon's always trying to do these schemes, there's some stress there. But they are fun to watch, and the actors are really good. And then we have Nicodemus, the Pharisee, played by Eric, I don't know if it's pronounced Avery or Avari, but if you see him, you will know him, especially if you're a fan of science fiction TV shows. You will recognize him right away. He and his wife also have a fantastic relationship. The actress that plays his wife is fantastic. I love her. So you have the introduction of these 4 characters, and you start to understand where they're coming from. Now, episode 1's, I believe, called I Called You by Name, and episode 2 is called Shabbat. And it is, again, basically these same characters, and it's building up to all of them celebrating Shabbat dinner in their own way. You have Nicodemus the Pharisee, who's getting very weary of the amount of respect he's being given as a religious figure. And he's starting to wonder if some of the attitude of this high respect for people over God is a good thing. He's having some faith struggles. So you have Shabbat just being done perfectly. Every I dotted and T crossed at his house. Then you have the character I mentioned before, Lilith, who is doing this for the first time in years, and she's not sure she can do it right. You have Simon Peter's family, and you have all this tension because Peter is doing some things he shouldn't be doing, and his wife's mad at him. When I saw the scene of their Shabbat dinner, and I saw the tension in the family's faces and the looks, then I could relate to his story. It was so well done as a family that does have love, but also has difficulties in it. I loved seeing that. And then Matthew, who is an outcast whose family has disowned him. I can't say enough about the character. Now, in the second episode, I also want to talk more about some of the villains. The main villain is a completely fictional Roman magistrate named Quintus. And I am sure I've seen this actor somewhere else. He actually reminds me a lot of John Delancey, who played Q on Star Trek The Next Generation. He reminds me a lot of him in his mannerisms and voice. He is a fun villain. And the actor, he plays him a little bit quirky and a lot threatening. And with a lot, he's one of those villains that enjoys what he's doing. And that's always fun to watch. So he's sort of the antagonist. And at some point, he sort of hires Matthew to get information on Peter. And there's all this stuff going on. It's very entertaining. And what I like about this series is, especially as it goes on, from episode 2 on, it's just a good show. whether you are a follower of that religion or not. It is just fun. Now, again, there's all sorts of historical inaccuracies. There's interpersonal inaccuracies. I have no idea if the celebration of Shabbat was correct according to Jewish custom. I do know they had a rabbi as a consultant who seemed to be okay with the episode. He did say you have to give people some artistic license when they're doing these shows. However, it works really well. And I was really drawn into the characters by the end of this episode. Then episode 3, which airs tonight, hopefully I'll get this video up, is the one that sold me on the show. None of those characters are in it. It introduces Jesus really for the first time, and Jonathan Rumi, I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, does a really good job here. He's one of the best, it's one of the best portrayals I've seen of a very human Jesus. And in this one, he hasn't come to the public yet and started his mission. He's still working as a carpenter. Note, that's a mistranslation. It's not carpenter in the Bible. It is craftsman, or in Greek, tekton. Notice the word tech in there. Someone who makes things, someone who repairs things and fixes things. It's more than a carpenter. They have that right in this show, which made my little pedantic heart very happy. So Jesus is going town to town, and he's making things and selling them because he's getting ready to go out preaching, but he's still got to earn a living. And there's a bunch of little children that were playing in the area where he was camped, and he got to know the little children. And it's just the interaction between him and the children. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. So that's airing tonight. It just keeps getting better. Now, if you have seen The Chosen, please comment in the bottom and let me know what you thought of it. I'm especially interested to hear the reaction of people that are not coming from a Christian background, because I am. So maybe I'm not seeing things the way you would see things. But I just thought it was a really well done show. It could have been completely made up and written by the scriptwriters with no relation to anything biblical or anything historical, just a story. And I really enjoyed it. It's a little bit soap opera-y in the beginning. But I was a longtime fan of All My Children and generally the ABC soaps, so that doesn't bother me. Let me know what you think, and if you watched it, let me know what your favorite characters are. I'm kind of going to bet Matthew is a hit with just about everyone. I would be surprised if he's not. And the actor that plays him, well, another name I can't pronounce. I believe it's Paris Patel. Patel I can pronounce. I know how to pronounce. I know Patels. That's like Smith in the Indian world. Patel, it's real common. But I don't know if Paris is how you actually pronounce his first name. But he is fantastic. The acting is just really good in this show. And the characters are good. And the actors and some of the crew, they're not necessarily Christian. They were hired because they could do a good job. Not because they ticked some kind of box. They really do a good job. The show is very multicultural in cast. Again, something that probably is not extremely historically accurate. It's somewhat accurate. It was a pretty mixed area. There are little things, for example, if someone is poor or destitute, they always put dirt on their face, which is like, really? Because someone's poor and down on their luck doesn't mean they're dirty. That irritated me. Mary, my daughter Mary, said the Roman uniforms bothered her a lot because it looked like they got them from the Halloween store. I didn't notice till she said that, but now I can't not notice it, and now you'll probably notice it too. It didn't matter. The acting in the story was so good, I got past that. I got past the fact the flowers in the market looked like they came from Michael's Crafts. If you're watching a play, you know that they can't portray everything realistically, so you just suspend disbelief. And I found myself doing that with this show. So anyway, I'm really curious as to what your reactions are. Leave a comment in the comment box if you've seen it, and also which episodes you've seen. And if you struggle a little bit with the first episode, you can really start with episode 3. You can start with the one live streaming tonight. It really stands on its own. And that's the one that hooked me. Episode 5 is my favorite though, but we'll get to that in the next video. All right, I'll see you soon.